right, everyone, we're waiting for one more council member to join us. So I'll give it a minute or two, and then we're going to go ahead and start. Deborah, okay?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Deborah?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to go ahead and commence the meeting, and Mr. Jones can join us here.
Yes, sir.
So I'd like to call this meeting of the City of St. Mary's, Georgia City Council for May 18th, 2020 to order. And we are going to ask Council Member Linda Williams for an invocation.
Please bow your head. Gracious Heavenly Father, today as we meet, we are looking toward this weekend's Memorial Day 2020, a day when we honor those who have died in the military service of our nation. Allow us to remember and give tribute to those who have paid the ultimate price so that we can enjoy America's freedoms. And in addition, let us honor those who currently serve this nation. And dear Lord, please be aware that our city, our state, our nation, and in fact, our world, your world, needs your guidance more than ever as we deal with this coronavirus pandemic. Give our leaders wisdom, our medical professionals and first responders special protection, and our citizens courage and patience to fight this virus. Guide all of us as we adapt to new ways of thinking, working, and dealing with so many matters in our daily lives. Thank you, dear Father, for all the blessings we enjoy, and during this time, most especially, make us ever mindful of the needs of others. In your most holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, Ms. Williams. Thank you very much. And I'd like to ask Councilmember Rassi, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? We'll ask you to say it for us.
Hardy Jones. I will be honored. I will be honored to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Madam Clerk. Madam
Yes,
Clerk,
sir.
can we have the roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Jones, post 1.
Here.
Councilmember Goodman, post 2.
Goodman, present.
Councilmember Gant, post 3.
Present.
Councilmember Riley, post 4.
Present.
Councilmember Rassi, post 5.
Present.
Councilmember Williams, post 6.
Present.
Mayor Morrissey.
I'm here. Thank you,
Sir, we
Mayor.
have a quorum. You're welcome.
All right. So, Council, let me ask you this quick question. We have 3 meeting minutes. I think you were all in attendance for those 3 sessions. If the reason for the question, if so, then I'd like a motion for all 3 of the meeting minutes at once instead of individually. Was there anybody that was absent? I don't believe
I'll make that
so.
motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, yes, sir. So I have a motion for approval of the April 20th, May 5th, executive session meeting minutes, the May 5th regular city council meeting minutes, and the May 5th executive session meeting minutes. And I have a motion from Mr. Jones. Can I have a second, please?
Second, Mr. Rassy.
Thank you, sir. Okay, and I will, as usual, I'll run down the roster for yay or nay. Mr. Jones?
Yay.
Mr. Goodman?
Yay.
Mr. Goodman? Yes, thank you.
Mike.
All right, Mr. Gant?
Has joined the meeting.
Mr. Gant?
Yay.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I heard Mr. Gant say yay. Okay.
You
All
did.
right, okay, then council, you need to mute your phones if you can. We're getting feedback. Thank you. All right. Mr. Riley?
Yay.
All right, and Mr. Rassy?
Yay.
And Ms. Williams?
Yay.
All right, Madam Clerk, if you would mark that vote as unanimous for
Yes, sir.
approval of the meeting minutes. There are no presentations, and we have no current reports of authority boards or commissions. And I'd like to set the consent agenda. I will run through it, and then I'd ask you for your response of your preference. We have one item of old business, which is St. Mary's Municipal Court revised calendar. Consent? Okay. New business, we have the School Resource Officer Memorandum of Understanding Contract of Services Agreement.
Consent.
Consent.
The State of Georgia Law Enforcement Local Government Risk Reduction Certificate and Participation Agreement.
Consent.
I'd like to hear that explained. I think it's important to tell the citizens what we're about there.
Okay. Now, Mr. Horton, are you versed enough to be able to cover that?
Yes, sir, but I think Chief Wilkie's on the line, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Okay. Again, if you could mute your phone if you're not speaking. Thank you. Okay. And so the last item is a budget ordinance amendment for FY 2020 tourism budget.
Consent.
Consent.
Consent. All right. So, council, if someone can give me a motion on the consent agenda for new business item A, and, excuse me, for old business item A, new business item A, and new business item C. Have a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
motion to accept the consent agenda is read.
All right. It sounded like Mr. Riley.
That is correct.
Is that correct? Okay. And so I heard a second from Mr. Rassy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And I will, again, bear with me, council. I need to go through the roster. Mr. Jones, yay or nay?
Yay.
Mr. Rassy? Excuse me. Mr. Goodman. Sorry.
Yay. Thank you.
Mr. Gant.
Yay.
All right. Mr. Riley.
Yay.
Mr. Rassy?
Yay.
And Ms. Williams.
Yay.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you mark that as unanimous? And now, council,
Yes, sir.
if I can have a motion for approval of the agenda as set. Have a motion?
The agenda is set, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Ms. Williams, how about a second? Give me that again. Try it one more time. I couldn't figure it out.
Second, Mr. Rassi.
Mr. Rassi, okay. All right, through the roster. Mr. Jones?
Yay.
Mr. Goodman?
Yay.
Mr. Gant?
Yay.
Mr. Riley?
Yay.
And Mr. Rassi?
Yay.
And Ms. Williams?
Yay.
All right, Madam Clerk, will you mark that item for approval of the agenda as unanimous? So,
Yes, sir.
Council, with there are no old business, we'll go to a new business item B. So, Mr. Horton, you want to introduce the chief?
Yes, sir, Chief will take it.
Okay. Yes, sir. This is Chief Michael Wilkie from our police department. And Mr. Gant, did you want to ask the question or whatever? Just if you would frame it for us.
It looks to me like it's a very good program, but I know nothing about it. I think it strengthens our police department, and I think it's very important that Chief Wilkie explain it to the public and to the council.
Yes, sir. Okay, Chief Wilkie, if you would.
Glad to do so, Mr. Mayor and Council. Good evening to all of you. And I will confess that I've enjoyed having these remote meetings because they are so rapid, but I do kind of look forward to when we all get back together in the council chambers. The risk management program is operated through the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police, as is the state accreditation program. And it is designed essentially for agencies who were wanting to go ahead and get their foot back in the door and a step towards state accreditation, and to put in policies in some of the certain high-risk areas. And if an agency is maybe not quite yet ready to go back into state accreditation, but they do want to seek a discount on their liability costs, they can sign on for the risk management program. We have those policies. We had most of those policies in place. I've created one that was missing since I've been here. And I think we're ready to apply for that. The Local Government Risk Management Services, LGRMS, actually will pay the fee for that, which I think is like $250. So there's no direct cost to the city. We will have about a 5% liability savings on our insurance when all is said and done. Those are the basics of the program.
Okay. That's excellent, and we appreciate. I know that it was a target you had when you first came on board, and I appreciate your perseverance to get us there.
Thank you, sir. We're not quite where we want to be, but we are starting.
Let me ask the question about how does this directly improve our police force and their services to the public?
Well, the certain areas where the policies need to be in place are some of the ones that we would have already had. Emergency vehicle operations, transporting prisoners, some of those things that are routine in terms of daily activities, but they are potential high risk areas from a liability standpoint. One that we did not have in place at all was dealing with people who have some sort of mental disability. So by having these things in place, we line them all up where you do some sort of annual training on what your policy statement is, which can be done in the roll call and meetings. And then when our personnel encounter someone who is, say, mentally disabled, or find themselves in a high risk situation in one of those areas, then they've had some training in what our response will be, keeps our response consistent with best police practices, and gives the public, frankly, some reassurance that in those areas in particular, you know, their police department is operating as it should be.
I thank you very much. It's encouraging to see your leadership, and moving forward to make even a better police department. Although we got a good police department now, but you hear such things as in other areas, it's good to strengthen our police in any way possible. So keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir. I'm very proud to work with the men and women in this department. Look forward to greater things in the days ahead.
Okay. I did have the opportunity to meet one of our new recruits there. And I don't know when he's going to be sworn in, but we'll look forward. Okay, Council, could I have a motion for item B on the state of law enforcement, local government risk reduction?
I made that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Jones?
Already found. I'll second
Okay,
it.
so was that Mr. Rassi made the motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Rassi made the motion, and I had a second from Mr. Jones. Let me run down the roster, if I may. Mr. Jones?
Yay.
Mr. Goodman?
Yay.
Mr. Gann?
Yay.
Mr. Riley?
Yay.
Mr. Rassi?
Yay.
And Ms. Williams?
Yay.
Okay, Madam Clerk, would you mark that as unanimous for item B, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, so I'd like to move on to the report of our city manager. Mr. Horton, are you ready?
Yes, sir, I am.
Thank you. Go ahead.
As most of you are aware, we've got a lot of construction still going on around City Hall right now. It's actually picked up a pretty good steam. We had the back parking lot blocked off today as they installed a new drain line headed back towards the church. It will continue up East Dillingham Street back towards Osborne, probably over the next day or so, and that will be installed. But the back is now accessible as of today. The sidewalks are coming along up front. They're pouring concrete and putting curb and gutter in. And there were some questions out in Facebook land, just for clarity purposes. This is all tied together. The front is along with the back. The water comes in, it starts at the front, and it's supposed to run to the back. Well, if we're still concentrating on the front, we get a good rain, we're going to get pools of water up at the front. It's not going to have anywhere to go. So that's the thinking and the process that we went through on that. But it's been under the watchful eye of Mr. Marr and his group of folks. They're out there real regularly checking on it. The Hawk signal that we have carried to Atlanta, I know the last 2 years, and I think 3 or 4 years, has actually been installed. It's not completed, but it has been installed. That is located right at St. Mary's Middle School. You can, when you're going down Spur 40 towards the base from 40 and 40, you can see the sign over the roadway. So that should be up and ready to rock and roll whenever school goes back. So we're really excited about that. That's just more of our Atlanta fly-ins paying off in the long run. The budget workshop is scheduled for this Friday morning between 9 and 12. The public may listen in via YouTube, just like you're listening in now. Council, if you would please review the budgets ahead of time. Go ahead and send us in questions by Wednesday evening so we can have your answers or have the department head online for the call. That will help with the process we're going through. A couple of you have already sent questions. I'm very appreciative of that. We're getting those addressed and should be ready to answer your questions either prior to or during the meeting. So we look forward to that time with you. Also, the parking along St. Mary Street, I have forwarded an attachment to each one of you about the modifications. We had talked about putting the boat parking on the other side of the road from where it is presently. We were really excited about that because that was going to solve a bunch of our problems And then we backed off and looked. No, that was creating a worse problem. It was cutting down on the number of boat parking that we would have in the area. And so we had to back up and regroup. We've developed, Bobby and Chris Cox have been working hard on it, have come up with another plan. We've shortened down probably 8-9 parking spaces, and it creates kind of a less of a curve there as you get it right at the boat ramp. And it's also adding some additional vehicle spaces. So you can look at it. Please let me know what you think about it, but this is really the direction we're headed. Right now we're checking to make sure that it's not going to create a problem with our LMIG, because we paid for it to be one way and we're doing it another way. And we don't think it's going to be a problem, but we're just making sure in the long run so we don't jump into something we weren't ready for. We're also making sure that it meets DOT requirements as far as field of vision and things of that nature. So look forward to hearing how you think about it and that sort of stuff. Other than that, we're doing day-to-day dealing with yard debris and issues of that nature. We've got ditch crews that are out currently working all over the city, cleaning ditches and trying to get prepared for storm season. As most of you know, we had our first tropical issue over the weekend. It didn't create an effect for us at all, but the season is upon us, as they would say. So we would ask the citizens to go ahead and start checking your plans for evacuation and emergency kits and that sort of stuff. So other than that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report for this evening.
All right. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, can we have the calendar, please?
Yes, sir. On Tuesday, May 19th.
Hello?
I heard someone, sir.
Yes,
Someone trying to
this is Goodman. I have a quick question.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Mr. Horton.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Horton, excellent report. Thank you very much for that. In reference to the parking along along Osborne Street in front of City Hall, I would ask that as you get ready to restripe and reline the angle parking all along City Hall and the Annex building all the way down to the Walter and Andy's building, that consideration be given. And here again, I know that parking is a premium, but those previous spaces were entirely too narrow, to the point that about every fourth or fifth space, somebody really straddled the line and you sacrifice the space anywhere. If you could look at the DOT suggestions and requirements even for the width of the angle parking places and bring us into compliance with something a little wider than what we had, I think it would be a step in the right direction.
Yes, sir. We'll look at that.
That's a great point, Mr. Goodman. Thank you very much for that. And
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, you didn't. My apologies. Should have asked if anybody had any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can, I'd probably like to piggyback off of that, Jim, to Robbie. I think you're redoing the handicap parking areas also. So listening to Mr. Goodman, I was wondering, when you're ready, could council have a rendering of the parking scheme for in front of City Hall and down to the tourism building?
Yes, sir. We'll shoot for that for our first live conference or meeting.
Okay. That way, if anybody has any further questions or something, then we can follow up like Mr. Goodman comments. Thank you, Jim. All right. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Madam Clerk, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Could we have go over the calendar with us, please?
Yes, sir. Tomorrow on Tuesday, May 19th in council chambers, the Planning Commission has canceled their meeting. On Wednesday in council chambers on May 20th at 6 o'clock p.m., the Board of Ethics has canceled their meeting. This coming Friday on May 22nd from 9 a.m. to 12 o'clock noon, City Council will hold the budget work session for fiscal year 2021, and that will be held via teleconference. On Monday, May 25th, in observance of Memorial Day, city buildings will be closed. On Tuesday, May 26th at 3 o'clock p.m., the St. Mary's Convention and Visitors Bureau will hold their meeting via teleconference. At 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, May 26th in council chambers, there'll be the Historic Preservation Commission. And at 6 o'clock p.m. in Main Street office is scheduled the Stormwater Enterprise Study Working Committee. On Monday, June 1st at 6 o'clock p.m. will be the City Council meeting.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So for council comments, so why don't we'll flip it over, and Ms. Williams, why don't we start with you? If anybody has any additional questions or comments, please, you're welcome.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I continue to be extremely proud of the way that our citizens are responding to this pandemic, and particularly those that are invested in the care of seeing that people have food, whether it's the school system providing for the kids or the Camden Curbside Group at Restoration Church that's working to have so much offered, and then other food banks from other various ministries. We are taking care of our own, and that is so inspiring. And I appreciate what everybody is doing. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Very kind. Very kind. Yes, Mr. Rassi?
Good evening. I would like to echo on what Ms. Williams shared, and real proud of our community and the love that we've shown for one another during this time. And I also want to thank everyone for their thoughts and prayers. About a week and a half ago, my father-in-law passed away, and so my wife's doing well, and the families, they're getting through this, and appreciate your thoughts and prayers. And we live in a wonderful community, and we've definitely felt that love.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Riley?
Yeah, I'd also like to echo Ms. Williams' comments. It's really so rewarding to see a city respond the way ours have. And I'd also like to include all of our employees as well. They've been out there providing the needed services to our citizens each and every day, and I'm very proud of them and pleased with what I see, the little bit that I do get out in this current environment. And secondly, with respect to business side, I was going to mention the Hawk signal, but Robbie has done an admirable job of mentioning that, and the trips to Atlanta do pay off. And the second thing is that the trip to Atlanta with help is the TAP grant. That's moving along well. I think we should be close to the point of getting the grant money so that we can do the engineering soon and report that to the council and citizens when we do. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Riley, remind everyone what the TAP grant's going to do.
It's a Transportation Alternative Program grant, and what it's going to do is provide a multi-use path along Winding Road between Charlie Smith Highway and Coleraine. It'll be a 10-foot path and sidewalk that will accommodate all the people that live along there. So we're excited about that grant, and hopefully once we get the engineering done, we'll be ready to get the next phase's money, which will be to install the path. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, it's a big safety issue. Thank you, Dave, for that. Mr. Gant, how about you?
Yes, I'd like to thank our citizens and our staff for hanging in there during a very difficult time. Be safe, watch for your spacing, and wear a mask when you need to, and we'll get through this together. It's hard, but we'll get there. We'll get there one of these days. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Goodman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly the council members who've spoken thus far have captured the essence of what I call the spirit of St. Mary's and the altruism, and I won't waste any of my words on trying to improve on their fine comments. I'd like to say that Chief Wilkie's presentation gives me a great deal of confidence in the professionalism of our St. Mary's Police Department, and this is at a time when we're seeing the communities all across this nation question even the basis of governance and police activity. We're really moving in the right direction under Chief Wilkie's leadership. And mega dittos in that regard to City Manager Horton's foresight. Just at first glance, it looks like a very workable solution on St. Mary Street, and those things don't come easy. And so my compliments to Mr. Horton and the entire cadre at the City Hall who are keeping us going during these difficult times. And again, Mayor Morrissey, you really are doing a fine job on this electronic meeting management. And I look forward to the time when we can fuss at each other in person again. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Very good, Mr. Goodman. Thank you. How about Mr. Jones?
Mayor, I just wanted to follow up what everybody said, especially what Linda said, and with the comments made about our chief and the police department. You know, a lot of times, especially in the times when you're having these problems, you have certain areas of government that just you don't hear enough about, and then some parts of the government you hear too much about. And one thing about I can say good about the police department is we don't hear a whole lot about them because they're doing such a fantastic job. They're courteous, and not just the police department, but solid waste, everybody, the workers in the street. I hear people talking about how much more courteous the workers are when they visit City Hall and everywhere else. I'm not saying that I like the COVID pandemic that we're going through, but, you know, it's really bringing out the good in St. Mary's. So, you know, my hat's off to all of the workers in St. Mary's, and especially you, Chief. I've been intending to come down and talk to you personally about it, but because of time factors, I wasn't able to do so. But we have a great city, and it really makes me feel good to say that I'm a part of St. Mary's. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. All right, Council, if you bear with me, I just have a couple of things. The first is early voting is available at the Camden Center there, which is next to the county library at Gross Road and Route 40. So if you want to early vote, that started today, and it's available with the ballots for Independent, Democrat, and Republican. Then the other thing is we get regular updates on COVID testing, and they are rapidly improving the amount of COVID testing. And one good piece of news is that the testing center has been Mondays at the Woodbine Elementary School, and on June 1st, it is going to come down to our area, and at the present time, they're working on a location. It may be St. Mary's Middle School, but that's yet to be determined, but that would be June 1st. And I think it occurs in the afternoon, but for all our citizens on board here, just stay tuned and we'll get that information out so that if anybody has an interest in testing or need for testing, that'll be a lot easier for you to be able to get done. The staff has been discussing how we want to resume in-person council meetings, and Mr. Horton and I have gone over some of the basic ground rules that we may have to put in place. And we're thinking right now of June 15th. The governor's regulations will all expire on the 12th. And we think we would be ready, but there are a number of restrictions that will probably still be in place. And we're trying to diagram out how that works. So council will try and have that ready for you at the next meeting so you'll know what to expect. The next meeting will be a teleconference on the 1st, but the June 15th meeting, council and citizens, where we are trying to get ready to see if we can have that as an in-person real-time event. And then you also heard, everyone, that the budget workshop is this Friday from 9 to 12, and you'll have information about accessibility so you can listen in. And again, Mr. Rassi, all our condolences to your family and in the death of your father-in-law. Thank you for being with us during that hard time. We appreciate it. So with that said, council, may I have a motion for adjournment?
Mr. Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Yes, Ms. Williams, and I have a second from
Jones.
Mr. Jones. Okay, down the roster. Mr. Jones?
Yay.
Mr. Goodman?
Yay.
Mr. Gant?
Yay.
And Mr. Riley? And Mr. Rassi?
Yay.
And Ms. Williams?
Yay.
All right, Madam Clerk, that's unanimous. Thank you, everyone,
Yes,
and particularly thank you, citizens, for dealing with this juncture of our government during this period. We appreciate it very much. Have a great evening, and please stay safe. Good night, everyone. Mayor Morrissey?
Has left the meeting.
Mike?
Has left the meeting. A participant 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 has left the meeting.